Okay, okay. So if it's a that's your left. If it's a valid move, it's going to get a value of. Okay, so if you're landing on a black piece, you can't do that. It defaults to -1, which is an invalid move. You cannot land on there. Okay, so you've already got -1 three times for invalid moves. You got a 0 for a basic move, and it'll continue on even if it's set at 0, which means it's just a basic move. You're not going to jump anything from there, right? Now, if the left piece, in this case it's left, it could be or right, right? So I'm going to refer to it as left, right? If it's a black piece, then it may well be jumped. Now, the extended move is determined, which is basically determining this here, or this square. Okay, so once we've got this square defined, which is the extended left, all right, then, and it's blank, okay, then we have to determine whether it's safe or unsafe by examining A, B, C, and D. Right, now I'll try my best to explain that to you in the code without going through too much detail. Right, so again, if the valid point extended move, so it's valid, right, if the color of the extended move is blank, then we know we can jump to that blank symbol, right? Then you have to set extended move safe or unsafe for the piece, and it goes in there and it determines everything that I said to you. I won't go in there, okay, because it's kind of fairly complicated code, but what I'm going to go over is the basic principles, what's in that function, that if that is blank, it can go there. If that is an opponent's piece, in this case the black pieces, and that is blank, it's registered as unsafe, which gets a marker of 2. If that is an opponent's piece and that is blank, and that will always be blank because it's assumed that you've just taken it, then it's marked as unsafe. So if either of those conditions are true, you've got a problem. If none of those conditions are true, then it's safe and it gets a value of 1. And that's safe and unsafe moves. They're smart moves. The greedy move will go in there and it will just take the piece, whether it's unsafe or not, safe or unsafe, 1 or 2, it'll just go ahead and do it. And that's the greedy move, right? And then the basic move means it just moves into a square, which is a random move, and it'll just keep on taking whatever. It will also take these eventually. If there's no basic moves left, it'll and I'll go into that algorithm in a second with you. Okay, so that's there. And again, we've also covered the 2-level deep there, which is the last question, right? And now it says, what data structures are you using to hold a list of valid moves? Okay, now the data structure is in the code, and I'll show you that in the code first of all. And that is up on line 27. Okay, and that's it there. Okay, so you got a 3D array. Now the first array is a left X and Y, and then the third array has all of the details in it, which I've outlined here. All right, so you got your upper left X, this actually was updated, I had put in a typo, so it's upper left and upper right, and the extended moves are not held, they're calculated on the fly, you know. The color of the piece, upper left extended move type, which is 0, 1, capture, 2, or unsafe capture. Upper right extended move, is it safe? Going to the right, it's a basic move, is a capture move, which means it's safe, or an unsafe capture move. And that's that data structure, those fields 5 and 6 will hold that information. And when you scan through, you'll scan either for basic moves, and that you would look in this section of that array, for the whole array, you'll go through every point in the array, and then you will look for a basic move, which means it's 0, and you will take that. If you're looking for safe capture moves, i.e. smart moves, you'll go with 1. And if you're looking for unsafe capture moves, or unsafe, a move where you take a piece but it's unsafe, you look for 2. They would be greedy because you're taking it without whether it's safe or not. All right, so they would be the greedy moves. They would be the safe capture is smart, and a basic move is a random move. It just moves into a square. So that's where that information is held. It's held in position 5 and 6 of the third array of the 3D array. So how does that sound? Okay, so that's where that's the basic idea behind the data structure. And that holds a list of valid moves. It also has a list of invalid moves, because if this 5 and 6 down here, if 5 and 6 here are -1, they're invalid moves, right? Valid moves are, again, are 0, 1, or 2, and they have different move types. So that's how that's stored in that 3D array. That's where that information is stored, right? And then the next question is, explain how your random move selects a move to make, right? Now, there's a little bit more to this, and I'll go into that now. And we got to scroll down to 739. Okay, now there's a function make move. Okay, this is where it all happens. Now, if you're in, now you can read a lot of this stuff from the comments here if you don't want to get into the detail, but I'll try my best to go into this now. If you're in random mode, it'll scan for a random move, i.e. it has to have the a value of 0 in the array, third array. Position 5 or 6 will have a value of 0. So you will scan for a random move. You'll loop through all the data structure looking for a move that has a value of 0. Make random move, right? And you will try and make it. That's the first thing it'll try and do. But it may not find a random move if it's very congested, in which case it will just take a greedy move to try and move things along, right? And it'll go for a greedy move which is an unsafe move. So it'll probably get captured, but at least it'll loosen up some space. And this is how I have this intelligence built in here, that a random move will go from random to greedy, and if it can't find a greedy move, then it'll go for a smart move, right? But a greedy tries to move it up, right? So that's a random move, and that's how I've implemented some of that intelligence in there, combining the different move types, right? Then if you are in greedy mode, in which case the bit at position 5 or 6 is set to 2, that means it's a capture move, but it's unsafe. So it'll just go ahead and take that, right? It's going to go and it's going to make an unsafe capture move, i.e. a greedy move. If there's no greedy moves found, it'll just look for the smart moves. And if there are no smart moves found, it's going to go for a random move, right? And if nothing is found, it just won't make it. It may well be just too congested. So that's the greedy behavior I've programmed in there, starting with a greedy move as is defined in the game mode. But then it goes to no greedy moves found. Then it goes to scan for the smart moves, and if it finds any, it'll make it. And if it doesn't find any, no greedy or smart moves found, then it will scan for just a random move which has a value of 0, right? And then it'll do that. So I've implemented some behavior there, and that though it's called greedy, it does have fallbacks, because if there's no greedy moves available, it won't be able to make a move. So you have to make some move. All right, so I've defaulted it to a smart move, and if there are no smart moves available, then it's just going to make a basic move. So there won't always be a greedy move available. So that's why it has to fall back to be able to make a move, and that's why I've implemented that behavior into this set of calls, right? So that's a subtle point, and it's very important that you mention that, because it does define the behavior of the code right here, and there's a lot of AI there, right? Now again, smart moves, you look for smart move. If there's no smart moves, then you would look for a greedy move. If there's no smart moves, you go make a random move, because a random move is not necessarily getting you into trouble, right? So I just said, if there's any basic moves, then you're just going to move the board along. Initially, when the game starts, you want to make a smart move. Nobody's made any moves yet, so it won't find any smart moves because it's not near any pieces. So it has to go to say make a random move, right? Which you'll probably find at the very beginning of the game when nobody's moved any pieces, and it'll just move a piece up. So you may be in smart mode, but if it leaves after it can't find the smart move, then it won't make any move at all, right? So you can't have that. So that intelligence has to be built in here. So though it's it's in smart mode, it will go from smart mode down to random mode, and then ultimately, if there's nothing random, it's going to desperately try and make something happen. So it'll make an unsafe capture move if any are available, and that is the behavior of the smart. That's the way I programmed it, right? So that's how you do that, right? And that's there now, and that's the evaluation function. That is the make move is the evaluation function that determines what we do or what we don't do. That defines the behavior of the entire piece, using these three other functions to be able to implement either a greedy or a random or a smart move. Right, so that's how you that's how it selects the random moves, how your random moves. Let me just see what it says. Explain in detail how the evaluation function decides. Explain how your random moves select a move to make your random moves. So the random moves, right? That's basically, if you're in that's in basic mode, right? Game mode is random. I have it written there, yeah. So then you're going to go make move random, which you search for 0, which means it just makes any move. It looks for zeros. Again, if it can't find that, it makes an unsafe capture move, a greedy move, and if not, then it'll go for a smart move. So the explain, I just have to look that again. Explain how your random move selects a move to make. So that's how it selects a move to make. That it looks for a move that's a basic move which has a value of 0, because they've already been predefined in the code, which I discussed at the very beginning of these videos, how it selects and assigns a value to each move from 0 to 2. So it just selects 0 if it wants to make a random move, because the random moves have already been will be defined with a value of 0, and then it selects 1 off the top and makes that random move if it wants random moves. But again, it's not as simple as that, right? So that's pretty much everything there for your discussion. There should be enough information there. Again, this function here is very important. It's the make move function, and that defines the behavior. Again, there's 3 other functions, which are make move, make unsafe capture move, which are implemented as part of the behavior in this core segment of the code, right? So you have to see how that's working there. There's the make safe capture, unsafe capture, which is greedy, safe capture smart, and make move random, which is the random move, which is 0, 2, and 1, and they are defined in a particular sequence to create a particular artificial intelligence behavior in this code. Okay, so that's what you have to emphasize there. That's about it. I don't think there's anything else I need to add to that. Again, try and get back to me later on this evening. That should be enough information there. You'll have to probably go over it a few times, just as well I put in a video, because it'll be very difficult to explain this onto a phone. So you can listen to it a few times. But most of everything there has been gone into detail. You don't have to go into as much detail. I think you need to cover about 6 minutes. Now, there's a bit more there. I've written out a lot of the theory there in text. You may or may want to use that and read that out. But that essentially explains this whole procedure here of jumping, etc., etc. And if you want to read that out it may well be just from there to there. That's where that's implemented. So again, do your best, and then you can come back to me. Now, when this is the make move function, again, it's just written here. I don't have it displayed in the code, but you could just read out the comments if you wanted to have that on your video and just scan through that. That would be the core of it, right? That's the user move. That's where you make the selection. That's your evaluation function. The make move is your evaluation function, and that's where it evaluates the moves to make using those other 3 sub-functions, which will give you either a greedy, smart, or random move. All right, so that's your evaluation function. So that's where you can hit that. And again, the 2 levels deep was explained earlier on. That's when you're jumping the pieces, etc. And all of this text is also another explanation of 2 levels deep, though I don't think I've actually mentioned it here as that. I did in the earlier start of this video. I went over that in detail. So that should be enough, and I'm going to upload these now and get back to me later on then with what you've done, and I will verify that. Section 2 was fantastic. This is going to be for section 3, and then section 1 should be about a minute long. There's good information there which I sent to you. Come back to me with section 1 and section 3 and I will verify that. Section 2 looks fine. So you just need 2 more to do. But then the hard part will be getting through this video and just listening to it a couple of times and then coming back to me. If it gets late, I'm up early-ish in the morning. Well, I've got a few things to do. If you can come back to me tonight, that would be great. I can certainly evaluate it any time, and it's only going to take about 6 minutes, and I'll say, look, that's good, or say you could add something in, all right? In which case you might want to edit the video and put something in rather than having to do the whole thing again. I'll leave that with you, okay? So that's enough material. I'm going to upload all these now. Okay, cheers.